Can you tell me about your 50 days of not going outside? What was that like?
Um, Honestly, it was chill.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Speedy Mormon here, and at this point, it feels like I've been in the house forever without any human contact. Like a lot of people in this industry, I'm used to traveling a bunch, and so I'm not used to having this much time on my hands. Unfortunately, though, a lot of people haven't been able to work from home like me. All of the frontline healthcare workers out there, the grocery store workers, sanitation workers, delivery people, and anyone else I didn't mention who are helping us all get through the corona pandemic. So big shout out to all of you out there risking it all to make sure the rest of us are even able to get by. But today we're going to get a glimpse of what the future could be like with some lessons and hope from some friends around the world. But before that, if you're not home, you definitely should be home. This is life as we know it with the novel coronavirus, or COVID-19. The pandemic that is now spreading across the world was first identified this past New Year's Eve in Wuhan, China, and ultimately took the lives of more than 3,000 people. For our friends in Italy and Spain, things have been especially grim. Deaths soared past those in China. We don't know yet why the pandemic hit especially hard in those places, whether it was age-related, quarantining too late, or some other reason that hasn't yet been identified. Things are just getting bad here in New York, and we've all been ordered to shelter in place unless we absolutely must go outside. Lessons are being learned about not taking this seriously soon enough. We don't know yet the full extent of the outbreak, but we do know America was less prepared for a pandemic than other countries in the first place. The United States' low medical system capacity, lax response, and lack of testing capabilities make us especially vulnerable. According to the CDC, we've surpassed 122,000 cases and over 4,000 deaths in the state of New York. Many more are expected, and by the time this airs, New York will be the world's epicenter. Things started feeling serious in early March when the NBA suspended their season. Everything seems to have been postponed or canceled. No South by Southwest, no Coachella, it's our first March without a March Madness, and latest, the Olympics. One thing that's getting me through these tough times is looking ahead to China. Despite reports that the US government believes that China has understated COVID-19 infections and deaths, it seems the Chinese people are finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel after months of quarantine and social distancing. I spoke to Doug Perez, who was in Wuhan, China, and at the time was still under strict orders not to go outside.
I'm in Wuhan, and things have actually improved a lot here. We're really hoping to be let loose and be, out in public. Hopefully by the end of the month. We're still not allowed to leave, and the restrictions are still there, but delivery services, everything seems to have, improved. And when I do manage to get out, I don't see as many ambulances as I did. And I do know that they've shut down the temporary hospitals. There used to be a bunch of, temporary hospitals they built really quickly. Those have all been shut down because they simply can't fill them. So that's a good thing. We've been in quarantine for 60 days. So we're just really excited to have just a little bit of freedom. Hopefully we have that soon.
In Shanghai, things never got as bad as Wuhan, and now life seems to be returning. I spoke to some friends who gave us what I hope can be a glimpse of our future. What was the quarantine period like for you?
So I was actually home for like 50 days or something. That sounds crazy.
To be honest, the beginning was very stressful for sure, because I spent the first part of my corona life with my parents. So that was 2 or 3 weeks with my parents, the longest time I have spent with my parents since graduation from college.
I think in general, yeah, the country took it very seriously, but I can relate. I mean, I equate it to the 7 steps of grief, man. I mean, so The second step, I mean, I was in denial. I didn't think it was that serious. I mean, obviously you have some people who are hyper aware who've been through SARS, like my wife has. So that helped me, but I was skeptical at first too.
But overall, like I feel like it hasn't been that bad for me, just because I've been with my family and I live with my grandparents. Like, I can't imagine what it's like elsewhere when you're alone, not with family. I think if that was the case, I would have freaked out a lot more.
Take me back to day one of you being able to go back outside.
For me, I think that was last weekend was basically the first time I really felt Shanghai was coming back. And the sun was shining that day. It was a particularly nice day. So it was just nice seeing people out and about. I mean, it'd been so long, most of us just kind of stuck inside our homes, trying to get by with just the internet. So it was nice just to, see, I mean, people were still keeping distance. I mean, we were definitely like avoiding touching anybody for sure. But yeah, it was just nice to see life come back.
What was meeting up with your friends for the first time like?
It's been really nice seeing friends. Like, the mini reunions have felt really nice, and I don't know, it was just like really heartwarming seeing some people, and it was quite emotional when we got together for the first time.
It's bizarre. Like, sometimes like you take those times for granted. Like, you meet your co-workers and like you talk to them all the time. You don't realize how much you need those kind of communication and human contact.
During a time like this, I've realized like all the things I thought that were important, they don't matter at all. It's just back to the basics and back to just being human beings, you know?
But it's not normal yet.
A lot of procedures are being done when you're going to a public space.
Still, every time we kind of like go out, people wear masks, and then we enter buildings, they will take our temperatures.
Sanitizing like crazy whenever we go. I mean, we have a thing where our shoes don't come inside the apartment.
And even in Shanghai, they were asked you to show like this QR code saying that you're like safe to go around the city. Yeah. So
for me, I'm green. And basically, anytime you enter a public location, like for me, when I go to the driving range, they'll want to scan that, see that, okay, you're all good. It's not perfect, but what the point is if someone were to contract the disease and get an official mark, the people that were also in that location at the time would also get an alert, essentially, and it would turn to yellow or red, depending if you were on the same bus as somebody.
What do you say to the people here in America who still aren't changing their lifestyle?
Initially, it was so frustrating watching from this side of the world. It just felt like people weren't taking this seriously. It was so absurd because I'm like, you see what's happening in Asia, you see what's happening in Europe, so why would you think like it wouldn't happen in America? Also because, you know, as an Asian American, I also see how Asians are being treated overseas, and it was really heartbreaking to watch.
What do we need to do to eventually get to the point that you guys are?
I think it's really important to stay patient and just make sure you're healthy physically and mentally. I think that's the most important thing that's gonna get you through it.
For me, I mean, in all of us, and something that we learned, I mean, there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to live in fear. It's just certain habits have to change.
Staying home might not be the most ideal situation for sure, but like just think about all the health workers and like those people who are risking their life at front line trying to save lives. And I think staying home might be the easiest part of all.
Coronavirus has been one of the most devastating situations the world has ever faced. But it's also given us brief moments of solidarity in the human condition. Stay safe at home, everyone, and if you can, support your local healthcare workers.